Hello, and welcome to the back room, where we talk about politics across the country, across the world, and right here in the Bronx. I'm Lisa Schiffren, your host, and I'm a Republican speechwriter.
I'm David Eisenbach, presidential historian.
Tonight we're going to start with the New York mayoral race. Curtis Sliwa, the perpetual gadfly, has announced that he's running as a Republican again. And
yeah, well, look, hey, Curtis, the more the merrier. It's glad to see you back once again running for mayor. I have an admiration for Curtis. He's been such kind of an institution in New York, you know, since the 1970s.
No, and he's only done good. He's never done anything embarrassing or bad.
Yeah, and he's always had a voice that I think has been important for the city. When I ran for public advocate for the Democratic Party in 2019, he was always out there, and he joined forces with me and Sal Albanese beating up on Bill de Blasio.
Well, the problem with his voice is that it does not actually scream, "Elect me." No, I mean, he's a little too funny. He's a little offbeat.
Yeah, well, that's part of his charm. He's so New York in so many ways.
Yep.
Like he's the kind of guy who just, you know, it just screams New York, and he's one of those great New York characters. And love him or hate him, you got to respect him.
Well, I hope people take him a little more seriously, because really, when it comes down to it, he'd probably make a better mayor than anybody else running.
He certainly knows more about the city and than most of the people who are in city government.
So Andrew Cuomo, the former governor who was chased out of office, is going to announce, the New York Times says, this weekend.
This weekend.
And then he'll have his first fundraiser next Tuesday.
Yep.
I don't know. What do we think about him?
Well, as I predicted, I don't know, months ago, Andrew was going to jump in. He was going to go right to the top of the polls, which it looks like it's going to happen. I think that him delaying has really helped him, because all the while those other candidates were spending money on their campaigns, he's had no expenses. He jumps in. He's going to raise a bunch of money. He's got no problem with name recognition. I think he's really in pole position going into this race.
There's that small problem of the 15,000 senior citizens he killed during COVID by sending them to nursing homes to spread their hospital diseases. The sexual harassment I've never taken too seriously, because that looked to me like an excuse to harass him. But the killing the seniors, that's actually pretty serious.
There's no doubt about it. That's the biggest drag on Andrew Cuomo, and it was a terrible mistake. And even at the time,
but he's never admitted that it was a mistake.
Even at the time, we all knew that the most vulnerable people were seniors. So the idea of putting COVID patients in elderly facilities was kind of insane. And
especially when President Trump sent a ship, a Navy hospital ship, to hold all of these people coming out of the hospitals.
Yeah.
I mean, that was actually kind of, like, you think it was deliberate. I always thought it was, in fact, deliberate to get the death rate up to justify shutting down the country.
I have never seen a full investigation.
Nor will you. You will never see that.
What is disturbing is the fact that, the numbers of beds in these facilities, each one of them generates a tremendous amount of money for the facilities. So filling up these facilities with COVID patients, a lot of money was to be made. I don't know any reasoning behind it, but it just seems to me a boneheaded move to put those seniors in there. And he may or may not have to answer for it.
The day he did it, 4 other governors followed suit and did the same thing, killing seniors in their states, in New Jersey, Michigan, California, and I forget where.
Yeah, well, I think that maybe now is the time to have that discussion and find out from Andrew Cuomo himself.
Well, the problem is he's still going to win, because really he's got perfect name recognition, and Eric Adams is not going to win. And
who's he running against?
None of these
I mean,
little
Scott
guys.
Stringer and Brad Lander and
Right, a bunch of people who have never broken through.
no, and it doesn't look like there's enough time for them to break through, and there's a fractured race. So
And
you've
they're
got
all a little bit on the left.
and they're all eating the various pieces of the left. So if Cuomo can keep
Although
the
Cuomo was
outer borough,
behind the no bail, letting people out onto the streets.
everybody was.
Yeah, I guess everyone was.
Everybody was. And so if Cuomo can keep the outer borough white vote, and he can win over or keep some of the liberals within Manhattan, I think he wins this thing substantially.
Yeah, I think so too. Eric Adams is having a big week. He did not get exiled from his office by Kathy Hochul, and he closed down the Roosevelt Hotel in a stunning move.
People are. I found this really fascinating. 173,000 people moved through the Roosevelt Hotel.
Wow, that is quite a number.
It was like 2/3 of all of the migrants who came into New York City moved through the Roosevelt Hotel. It's just like, New York City, we went through a tough time, but we got through it. I mean, that really was a remarkable, time period for us. And I think that we can be proud of how we weathered that storm. And I still don't know how the flood came and how it got turned off. I mean, that to me is
Well, it got
kind of
turned off
baffling.
because Donald Trump was elected and he closed the border.
Yeah, but
And it got turned on because Joe Biden was elected and he opened the border and invited them all in.
that to me is
Come
baffling.
stay at our 4-star hotels.
How
We'll
did
feed
Joe-
you food you like, not the stuff we've contracted
Why
for.
did Joe Biden think that was going to work for him and not against him? That it's like one of those boneheaded moves where you're like, why? What was the plan? What did
I
you
think the
think
plan was to gin up more Democratic voters over time.
Yeah, but over a long period of time. First off, they'd have to get the citizenship.
No,
then
but this is like a core left wing, not even Democratic, but seriously hard left view that you open the borders, you bring in third worlders, and they reinvigorate the country and make it hard left.
I get that in long term, but in terms of the immediate political impact, they were begging for a backlash, and they got one.
Yeah, they did get one. No, they got one. They got one.
What were they thinking? And the biggest backlash, by the way,
They were thinking they'd get away with it, which they did.
the most dramatic backlash came from the Latino community and the black community that turned against the Democrats in this last
Well, it
election.
was interesting that black men figured out that they were the ones being hardest hit in the labor market.
And Latino men who didn't appreciate the competition for jobs.
being
also.
undercut for every possible job.
Exactly. So look, the Democratic Party,
Well,
really
the
lost
party
itself.
they haven't recovered from this yet.
No.
And it's not clear they will recover from it because they're still resisting they're resisting these deportations that 65% of the country is in favor of.
Well, it's been pretty remarkable how relatively smooth these deportations have gone. And it seems as though the word has gotten out that it has very much kind of reduced the numbers who are actually even showing up at the Mexican border and making that journey
200
to
people a
Panama.
night as opposed to the thousands that were coming in daily under Biden.
That is amazing. That is amazing to me, and a historic kind of shift there.
Although last week it was the case that Donald Trump got upset that these deportations were going too slowly, that there weren't quite enough in terms of numbers. So I wonder what the numbers really are.
I don't know, but it does seem that the message is out that the door is no longer open.
Right. But we've still got 10, maybe 20 million people that came in under those 4 years, many of whom really need to leave.
Yeah, well, I think that we've done a good job of kind of handling the crisis. At the end of the day,
I'm amazed that you see it as a crisis.
it was too much too fast. I think that over an extended period of time, it could have been digested better. It wouldn't have put the
here's
same
another thing
strain
you could
that
do.
we
You
saw.
could actually just have legal immigration.
because that's important. I mean, there's no doubt about it. We are a nation of immigrants. It's part of our lifeblood. It's very, very
Legal
important.
immigration.
Legal immigration.
Where the immigrant kind of has to justify what he will do for America.
And we
as opposed to being put up in a 4-star hotel.
And we don't bring in members of gangs and predators on that mainly focus on
rapists,
the immigrant
criminals.
Communities themselves. And we know, and I mean, what we saw in terms of the effect on prostitution, even, and on Roosevelt Avenue.
Right, there are entire neighborhoods in Queens that
the
are prostitution
Roosevelt
strips.
Avenue. I mean, it was sick just walking along those streets and seeing what happened to that neighborhood. And
Eric Adams has never actually come out against this. He still is willing to justify being a sanctuary city, except for the cost. The cost is the only thing he's ever complained about.
Well, and the cost was a serious threat to New York City. I mean, that he was looking
clearly.
at where it was trending and saying, oh my God, we're going to have billions of dollars that are going to go to these newcomers rather than going to people in New York City. And then when he raised his voice, I tend to agree with him. I think he was targeted by the Biden administration, and I think that this prosecution for these campaign finance violations, nobody
Taking
gets
money from the
prosecuted
Turks, right? Very small amounts of money.
Yeah, if every mayor got prosecuted for making a phone call on behalf of a campaign contributor to the Department of Buildings, every mayor would have been indicted by the Justice Department.
True. That is true. And really, it just wasn't that much money.
No, and trips. I mean, ridiculous. There was no reason for that, and by the same standard, just about everybody in New York City politics would be in trouble with the Justice Department.
Well, half of his administration was in trouble with the Justice Department and has resigned as a result. So there is a certain amount of actual corruption going on, but who knows what it is. So, in national news.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, was here this week visiting with President Trump. He was clearly a delegate from Europe to help Trump come to some new and better arrangement vis-a-vis Ukraine and how he was going to negotiate this ceasefire with Russia. What do you think happened there?
Oh, well, it was a classic press conference. I just loved how Macron kind of sat there as this kind of prep school boy trying to appeal to Trump, and Trump just sort of brushed him off, when Macron said, well, we contributed half the money too, and then Trump was like, yeah, you could believe that, but
2% of their budget goes to defense.
I mean, you got to admit the French have a lot of gall,
They do.
Macron talking about how much the French have contributed. It's like $2 billion, and yet they're talking this big game about how they're the ones that are going to send troops in to fight against.
They're going to be peacekeepers.
I mean, come on. Their military can't handle that job. The British military can't handle that job. And so they got to get realistic. And that is one thing that Trump really laid down, is that the United States is not going to send in troops. And you guys got to get on board with my plan. This is not your show.
You know what? We'll be back in just a moment. We're going to take a break for a public service announcement. And we have a little bit more about Ukraine and then some other topics. Stick with us. Welcome back to the back room. So this week, President Zelensky of Ukraine is coming to visit President Trump. He's got a deal. He's willing to accept a deal about rare earth minerals, giving the United States some significant amount, $500 million worth, or
Right.
rather $500 billion worth, $500 billion.
It's the smart move. You know, I mean, how else are you going to get potentially American troops in Ukraine? Well, the only reason why they'd be there is if they were guarding our rare earth minerals.
Trump has been really clear about no troops.
No, I know, but, you know, what's going to enforce this deal, right? You can't go to, like, the UN, like, wait a second, Ukraine, you signed this deal giving us half of your rare earth minerals. The only thing that could enforce this deal would be the U.S. military. This is what Boris Johnson was saying to Zelensky. He's like, idiot, don't reject Trump's deal. That's the only way in which you're going to get the United States in Ukraine, is give them a financial incentive to be there.
I see this more as a way of inveigling Trump to commit to rebuilding Ukraine rather than keeping the peace.
Trump's going to want to take money out. He's going to want to take minerals out.
Take minerals out? No, of course he'll do that. But
he's not writing any checks to build Ukraine.
Well, I think we will be investing. No. Our people will be investing in Ukraine.
Our people. In terms of our government is facing a crisis of the U.S. dollar.
Our government, not U.S. government money into Ukraine, private American funds.
Sure, they can do whatever they want. But in terms of what is the United States government, the United States of America's interest in Ukraine, Trump's laid it out. We want their rare earth minerals. I mean, it's the same reason why he's going after Greenland, right? The U.S. dollar, like all currencies on Earth right now, is in jeopardy. We're on a kind of a precipice of a currency crash. That's why J.P. Morgan is flying plane loads of gold into New York from London because everybody now is seeing this thing coming. The only thing that's going to prop up the U.S. dollar is access to rare earths, gold, some semblance of a fairer trade balance and fiscal responsibility, or a pretense to fiscal responsibility. That's been what Trump has been up to this whole time. This move towards rare earths is just a part of a bigger play to prop up the U.S. dollar.
Well, we're certainly going to see a greater trade balance with this reciprocal tariff deal across the world.
That reciprocal tariff deal, we're going to have to fight a war before we get that, a trade war. And, it's going to be interesting to see if Trump will stand the hit to the stock market that this trade war is going to mean, or whether he's going to back down just like he backed down against the Chinese the first go around in his first administration.
No, I think he'll stand it. I think he's made so much of a commitment that he doesn't have a choice.
Well, he made a big commitment when he was launching his trade war against the Chinese in the first administration, and he caved on every issue. So we'll see about this time. He's not running again. We'll see if he's got a stronger chin.
21 civil servants who were members of the DOGE team quit this morning. And they wrote a letter explaining that they couldn't be part of taking away jobs and destroying government entities. These were people with high-tech skills who know how government operates. The kids who are there just for Elon have high-tech skills, but they don't know how government operates. So it's really a question whether this will be a problem, whether losing these people will be a hindrance in actually cutting down on government waste, fraud, and abuse.
Yeah, the question is it happening too quickly? Are you cutting too many heads that actually are making a difference in keeping the government running? Or does it need just a cleansing, where you're just wiping out kind of a clean slate, as cruel as that sounds, in order to get greater efficiency? I tend to think that there's definitely waste, and there's definitely people who just need to go.
No, there's no, you know what, when Bill Clinton took out 400,000 jobs, I don't remember the headlines. I don't remember the media coverage. I don't remember anything about it because nobody complained.
Well, Bill Clinton was a Democrat, and so
I would have said that.
Much of the media kind of just went along with it. This is, the third way. as Bill Clinton put it, right? He's going to be a
Right.
new Democrat. This was a kind of
If
a
only
new,
we still had Democrats like Bill Clinton.
well, it's a different America, and anything that Trump does is by definition horrible, right? And that's something that has been a frustration, as a Democrat. Look, who could deny that government doesn't have waste, fraud, and inefficiency?
Nobody should be denying that.
Who could deny that? And
When I see senators and congressmen and women standing outside of federal buildings singing, I
as if it's the civil rights movement,
right, or
right?
the labor movement of the 1930s, it's crazy.
It is crazy, and it's stupid politically because all of us taxpayers, we're feeling the squeeze. And when we hear that somebody in whatever department is getting paid over $100,000 a year, and they won't respond to an email asking them to list 5 accomplishments from the prior week, we're all like, what do you mean you won't list that?
No, I agree with you 100%. The fact that you can't tell me what you did last week for 5 days, what does that mean?
What does that
did you
mean?
do?
What are you above telling me what you've done in the last 5 days? Right? And
No, in the private sector, people have to actually. Your boss knows what you've accomplished, and if he doesn't, you'll be out of business soon.
yeah, and part of this exercise is for you to brag about yourself. What did you accomplish? Don't you feel good about what you did last week? And tell the boss that this is what I did and why you need me. I think that's a healthy exercise for everybody to do.
Yeah, I was a
and
little
don't
upset to
understand.
see Trump backing down on that and telling all of these federal workers that it was up to them whether they wanted to fill this out or not.
Yeah, I just think it's a healthy exercise. I think everybody should do it. I think it's something that you should kind of regularly think about. What did I accomplish today? What do I plan to accomplish tomorrow? I think that's just something that as a human being you should just always do. And it doesn't have to be at your job. It could be in your hobby or with your family or whatever. I think it's a healthy action.
It's really amazing how vilified Elon Musk has become.
Oh, he's the lightning rod. Trump loves him because he's the lightning rod. He's the one that everybody can attack, and even Republicans can attack him because they can't touch Trump. I think he takes a lot of heat off of Trump. It just attracts a lot of attention.
Right, but do we think he's really doing the right work?
Is Elon Musk doing the right work? Well, this is the question, and like I said, is he moving a little too fast? This does seem very quick, and these resignations, I can see how they might be bothered by the concern that in this attempt to legitimately find all the waste, you're actually getting rid of good people who are actually doing the work that they should be doing. I can see that being a legitimate concern. And when you start to make mistakes this early on, it can discredit what I think is a legitimate review. Every agency, I don't care what agency, there's going to be waste, fraud, and corruption in it. It's just the nature of the beast.
It's a funny political thing. The Trump administration clearly feels that they have to actually really go at kind of roller coaster speeds and kind of break things and knock things over and create chaos.
Yeah.
I have mixed feelings about that.
I think you can accomplish. How many days are we in?
It's 30 days. It's 1 week, 1 month
into the presidency, right? What is the rush? Do it right, right? And then go from accomplishment to accomplishment. Go from one agency to another agency. Be hyper focused and get it right. And then the more credibility you get with the public that, oh my God, the sky's not going to fall if we go through this process with every agency. I think that's the smarter way to do it. You wind up accomplishing more. It might take a little bit longer, but in the long run, you accomplish more without doing damage to legitimate goals and objectives of the U.S. government agencies.
It's true.
Right?
Right.
that was one of the criticisms that those who resigned today had, is that the thing is being run by ideologues, not people who understand government.
Oh, because nobody on the Democratic side is an ideologue.
Well, look, no, there's no question about it. But I'm talking about these people who worked for Elon Musk, who are saying, you know, we wanted to get in here to make things more efficient, not just come in and collect a bunch of scalps. And I think that again, they want to do the job, and the job is not just going to be done overnight or within a month.
You know, the job is inherently political because this is the federal government, and so many of these people are in jobs that are DEI jobs, that are that have to do with woke politics, that were created very deliberately by Joe Biden to instill woke politics inside of every single department, and all of those jobs have had to go.
Yeah, well, they're at the top of the list. But to me, you know, I would branch out so that it's not just a political hunt, let's say. I would go, you know, across the board. Are you doing the job? What job are you doing? You know, and if you're, you know, just by virtue of the fact that you've been at the agency for 20 years and you're pulling down $130,000 and you're not actually doing any work, you're just maybe punching a card at the
Not even
agency.
punching a card because you're doing it from home.
Well, there's the other thing, right? So if there's no accountability, then of course you're going to have people who take advantage of the system and getting them off the payrolls. That's good for the American taxpayer. And then it reassures us that when we do pay our taxes, it's going to legit purposes.
Later, we're going to look back and wonder how it was that one of COVID's outcomes was that everybody worked from home for 4 or 5 years. It's just a crazy thing.
Yeah. Not all bad, by the way. I think that it has created more efficiencies. I think that, you know, commuting is such a pain in the neck.
No, it is. It is a pain in the neck.
And I think a lot of businesses, I know a lot of businesses, because just look at the commercial real estate market, a lot of businesses are like, you know what? We could still do the same job without having that huge midtown rent. And that's going to wind up hurting New York City in the long run.
Although it's very unclear whether it's the same job. But in Bronx news this week,
yes,
we've got the biggest Bronx news. The Yankees are allowing beards.
Yes, yes. I gotta say, you know, look, I'm a Mets fan. But there was always something special about the Yankees with that kind of clean cut, that sort of almost like a throwback to a bygone age.
Right, like back in the day when the Yankees would win the World Series.
Every year.
Right, every year. No, I'm with you on this. We're going to have to wrap up tonight. Thank you so much for joining us, and come back next week.